Corsair Obsidian 450D. Monolithic, clean lines of the Obsidian series. Maybe the 900's way too big and the 750's still too big. And you got the 650 and the 500 and all that stuff. And the 350 was too small. And you wanted something that could fit more radiators. Well, here is the 450D. Let's go ahead and take a full tour of this case. Before I get into it, I want to tell you guys that you can fit a ridiculous amount of radiators in here. 360mm radiators, 240, 280mm radiators, all at the same time. So it's going to be really good when it comes to water cooling, but it's also good as far as just generally doing a build. Yes, a build. The entire dimensions of this case are 494mm by 210mm by 497mm. That's 19.5 inches by 8.3 inches by 19.6 inches. Now the case comes in a couple different flavors. You can get one with just a solid side panel, or you can get one that has a large acrylic window so you can see all your fancy components. Let's take a look at the front here. Now right up here at the top, that's your power button. Just a slim, sleek button right there in the middle. Brushed aluminum look and feel. Then you've got your headphone, microphone. There's your reset button. And over here we have two front-facing USB 3. Below that, two of the 5 1/4 bays. And then a nice, large mesh front grille that's going to allow you to suck in plenty of air. And we depress on each side and pull this off. There's a little bit of residue here. There was some masking tape on this to keep it nice through shipping. So there's a little bit of residue from the masking tape. On the inside here, there's a dust filter. Decently fine mesh. It's plastic and then aluminum on the outside. You could just go and just rinse this entire thing off, let it dry out, then put it back on. That would work. And this should do a decent job. The mesh is not uber fine, but it should do a decent job of keeping the dust out. I would have liked to see a slightly finer mesh, but this will do. Right here we have two of the AF. These are the 140L fans, and you can fit a 120 in there as well. There's a 120 in the back, but you get the two right here. It's going to be sucking in a lot of air and just sending it over your components, creating a nice little wind tunnel. One other thing I want to note here is you can fit a large radiator, in fact a 280mm radiator or a 240. Either one of those will fit right there in the front. Go ahead and close this back up. All right, let's get her naked. All right, the side panel comes off. It's got a large acrylic window. The side panel, if you move it around a little bit, it does squeak. And I also want to mention that the acrylic side panel has some rough edges, but not on the actual spot where you can see them, just on the inside. But I usually expect a little bit more. Nicer quality. All right, let's take a look at the inside of the case. We have a lot of room to work with here. There's your two 5 1/4 bays. Everything is toolless, and it just pops in and pops out. You can throw whatever you want up there. You can even fit some hard drive cages up there if you wanted to, or build your own, or get creative. And here's the hard drive cage. You're probably thinking right now that, man, this is so close to those fans over there that I'm never going to be able to, do a radiator. Well, this entire cage can be unscrewed here, and then this little mount here can be picked up and moved. You can move these anywhere, or you can just entirely remove it. And let's say you're someone who wants 1,000,000 hard drives. Well, you can purchase additional cages and stack them up here on top of this. There's a couple screw holes here, see there and there. Put another cage right on top. There's a track as well that you can just slide the other cage into. I think that's really kind of cool because I can't tell you how many cases I've purchased, and I have an additional cage here, and I just have to take it out, and I think I've got like 40 extra cages just laying around in different places. I'm like, I'm never going to use 90 hard drives. This is a gaming rig, It kind of helped them cut the cost, and then you can buy an additional one if you want to. All right, here are your hard drive trays, sleds. I'm going to call them sleds. You guys can't stop me. Now, what you do is you put your 3.5-inch drives in there, bend it a little bit, and then they'll snap into place. This is not as sturdy as some of the like metal ones I've seen on the market. However, it's totally going to get the job done, and it's not, it may seem flimsy, but it actually is not flimsy. You can bend it a lot. It's got a little bit of play to it, but it'll totally get the job done. Your 2.5-inch drives go right here, and one thing I think is interesting about that, they're not centered. They're off to the side, and what that's going to do is that's going to keep your SATA ports and your power ports, or your SATA power ports, all lined up with all of your different hard drives, even if they're 2.5 or 3.5-inch hard drives. It'll all be the same. So I think that's kind of cool. All right, so took out a couple of thumb screws, and now you can see all the way through the case. Got plenty of room up here, and with this gone, you can probably do a push-pull as well without any problems. Now also, if you remove the cage here on the bottom, we've got more room to mount fans, and you could fit a 240mm radiator right here in the bottom. And then you get your power supply back here in the back, and there's some rubber feet here in the back that your power supply is going to sit on. And beneath this entire thing, we have a honeycomb pattern to allow everything to breathe. And beneath that, let's go ahead and show you what we have on the bottom here. Beneath that, we do have a large magnetic dust filter that comes right off. There it is. And this has a finer mesh than the one on the front. Slides right up in there, and then just let it go. Totally magnetized, and nothing is going to go anywhere. All right, back to the inside of the case. All right, so the motherboard tray area has a huge cutout window. I mean, look at that. All the standoffs here supports ATX, micro ATX. It should support ITX, the other ITX. As far as the eATX support goes, you might be able to fit it in there if you remove some things, but it's not official on their website, so I'm not going to say anything officially. We have several different grommeted areas here for routing cables and whatnot. The power supply area is not really sectioned off from the motherboard area. The cords are all going to just route back here, so you're going to see a few cords here and there going around. There's no like secret compartments or anything like that to hide things. It's just a big open area. You can fit any sized PSU on the market. The graphics card, you can fit up to a 430 millimeter graphics card, so that's huge. And then the heatsink height is up to 165 millimeters. So tons of room here to play with. Top here we have a ton of room. You can mount up to a 360 millimeter radiator up there. So, or you can just mount 3 fans or whatever. All right, so a lot of fan options. And now let's take a look at the back. The back here, we have one of the AF120L right there in the back. And there's only a spot here in the back for a 120 millimeter fan. You cannot fit a 140 millimeter fan. The case is not quite wide enough. This is where your I/O panel goes. 7 expansion slots right here, just a vented area. Also, we have 3 holes here to route water, cooling tubes, and that sort of thing. And all the way down here on the bottom, that's where you're going to mount your power supply. All right, now let's take a look at what we're working with behind the motherboard tray on the other side of the case. Here we have 2.5 millimeter hard drive, I don't know, I guess they're cradles. I would not recommend putting a mechanical drive back here because it's not going to be completely sturdy in there. So there may be a little bit of vibration, and you do not want that. However, since there's no moving parts on SSDs, you could put a couple SSDs back here and have them nice and hidden. In fact, you could just put 2 SSDs back here and get rid of the hard drive tray and have this be like, you know, all of your storage. There's all your grommeted areas. Have a few spots here for, you know, tying down different things. Not a lot of spots, not as much as I've seen on some cases. There's one behind here, one here, but we do have a lot of room. In fact, we have about 1 inch of space back here to, you know, stuff cables and that sort of thing. As far as the materials go, we have rolled steel just about everywhere. There's a couple places where the steel is not rolled, like here. That's not really a sharp edge, but it's not rolled steel like it is down here and most of the other places on the case. But there are a couple places where it's not rolled. They cut a couple of corners for this, but not many. And they've done a really good job at, you know, keeping the price down while also giving you a ton of features. Let's show you guys the top. All right, so here's the top. We have a large mesh grill, and this is actually a flexible magnetic dust filter for the top. I usually don't think you need much of a dust filter on the top. The holes are about the same size as the holes in the front dust filter because this is usually an outtake. And we even have some rubber grommets around the screw holes here. And again, 360 millimeter radiator can fit right here. Huge. If you wanted to get crazy, you could even mount fans on top of here and just have the fans sticking out of the top of the case. That would work. But I think I'll leave the dust filter on here just because it kind of adds to the look. Get on there. Oh yeah, this is one of the fun ones. Yes! So we have a ton of features here in a case with a sleek aesthetic, clean lines. And I like the fact that they cut a couple of corners to keep the price low. I like the fact that they've taken out that hard drive, but also, you know, given us an option to purchase one. If people, you know, need a million hard drives, they should go out and buy their own damn cage. I don't want to have to pay for a cage if I don't need it. So I actually like that. And the water cooling options in this are absolutely ridiculous. I also want to mention, I forgot, the 120 millimeter fan in the back. That can be removed, and you can put a 120 millimeter radiator right there. So that's another option for radiators. It's a bit absurd. My only gripes really are the fact that the factory used some tape that got some residue on here, and I have to clean that off. And then the edges of the acrylic panel on the inside had a bit of roughness to them. It just didn't look as refined as I liked, but you do not see that on the outside of the case. Doesn't really affect the quality of the case, and the build quality is really good for the money. So there you have it, the 450D from Corsair in all its glory.